Well, good morning, everybody. Today we're going to learn about the RM5 interruption and what to expect. Before I get started, I just wanted to give you a little bit of advice. If you're ever cold in your house, just go to a corner. It's always 90 degrees there. All right, moving on. When setting up interruption on Bullhorn Web for Bullhorn RM5, what you should expect is what we're going to learn today. It's not always intuitive, but we're working every day to make that happen for you. Normally, when I set up for interruption, I show everybody how to set it up on this page here, which is the all units page. I don't normally go to the unit admin page to set it up, but today that's where we're going to start from because I want everybody to know there are other options. So what we're going to do is go to the pencil for the unit, and then we're going to click on that, and that'll take us to the unit admin page. And from there, we're going to go to the IO module and interruption. And now we're going to set up our interruption settings. For this example, we're going to use start stop. Our local time zone is central, and sync any on off. Now that's important for this example that we're syncing on off and not off on, but we'll get more into that later on. Next, we're going to set up our start and stop times. Our start and stop times need to be going from today into the future. And it also has a time setting like 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And I always want to point this out. This is for a 24-hour period from starting at midnight going through the morning hours and the evening till midnight. So you cannot cross over the midnight frame with your stop interruption, because that would tell the unit that it's actually stopping before it's starting. But in this case, we're good at 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. We're using 3 seconds on, 1 second off. And for this scenario, we're going to disable interruption verification. That's important because of the things we want to show you here in our examples, but we'll come back later and show you what it looks like with it enabled. Now we're going to save it. And then once we're saved, we're going to go up to details, which will take us back to the detail page for this unit. And this will put us on the screen where we need to go to outgoing packets. And then we can see it is queued up for this unit. And what that means is the website has taken settings and got these settings built into a data packet to send to the unit. It's queued up, but it hasn't sent yet. It may take a few minutes. That queue is usually just a couple minutes long. Now, once you've seen it go into complete, now we're ready to look at the incoming packets here shortly, but just wanted to let you know when it says it's complete doesn't mean it's interrupting yet. It just means that the data packet has reached the unit and the unit has said, hey, I got the packet. So now what we're going to do is go to the incoming packets and see what it shows. Now, incoming packets, this was pretty fast in this example, but it can take a little while to get this packet in. Sometimes, depending on what you're using, a cell unit or a SAT unit, but it can take sometimes as long as 8 minutes or longer. And in this case, it says the interruption state is on, but not verified. Not verified, if you remember, early on when we were setting up the unit, we set it to verification disabled. And what that means is the unit received the interruption packet and the unit believes it started interruption. So it sent us a data packet saying, hey, everybody, we're interrupting. but it hasn't verified it. And what I want to show you is now how to go about and verifying that it is interrupting. And what we're going to do next is we're going to go from incoming packets over to commands in the upper left-hand corner. And then in the lower right where it says send command, we're going to select stop interruption. This way, everything gets back to the normal mode. We're going to hit send. And once we hit send, we can go up to settings in the upper left. And this will bring us back to the unit admin page. And we're going to go back to interruption. And we're going to set up everything the same as we did before, except this time we're going to turn on interruption verification. And you can see here it's set at 1. That is the 1 is the minimum it can be set to. And we're looking for the unit to have an on reading and then drop below 1 millivolt. Now, 1 may not be the best choice in all cases, but we're going to use it for this scenario. Once we've hit 1, then we can hit save in the lower right, then go back to details. Oh, hey, I got a question for you. What channel is used for interruption verification? Well, it is channel 1. And why I'm bringing this up is our unit can read can read amps on any of the 4 channels or volts on any of the 4 channels, but it can only verify interruption using channel 1. Now, after talking to our developers, they have promised that not in this next release, but in an upcoming release, we will have interruption verification on all channels. And this way you can have your amps on any of the 4 channels. All right, moving back on. Now that we're on our unit detail page, and we're going to look at the queued. So it's queued up. And once again, we're going to wait for it to send out and say complete. Once it's complete, then we can go to the incoming packets tab. But remember, because verification's turned on, it's going to take about 8 minutes at least before you'll get the verification. The reason for this is we know in the past something will start interrupting, then something will happen and it'll stop interrupting. So we don't want to just immediately send out, hey, everything's good. We're going to take multiple samples. We're going to see it go on, then below our threshold setting, which we had at 1 millivolt, and then back on again and do that multiple times before we send out a command to the website saying that everything is working. All right, looks like we got a question now. The question is, do we have to wait 8 minutes before we get notified that everything is interrupting? When you are set to verify interruption, your interrupter is interrupting, but the website will not know for at least 8 minutes. So you can start your survey if you see it start to interrupt out there in the field, or you need to wait until you see it on the website if you're not at that particular unit. All right, moving on to the next screen. We're going to show that we're complete on our outgoing packet, and it's normal. So once again, the packet got to the unit and everything says it's good. Now on the incoming packets, once we've waited that 8 minutes, we'll see on the left-hand side that's normal and interruption. And then on the packet that came in, we show interruption on, interruption verified. We show our on reading of 33.9 millivolts and basically 0 millivolts for our off reading. So the unit saw it go on and off multiple times before it sent in and said it was verified. Now moving on to from here, what else could I see if everything is not working as it should? Unfortunately, we don't always have a perfect scenario where everything works every time. So one of the things that we could see is check interruption verification settings. So in this case, our verification settings came back at 6.9 millivolts on the on and 3.7 millivolts on the off. Does that mean it's not interrupting? No. It could be interrupting, but if you remember in our scenario, we set our minimum value of 1, and here the minimum value is 3.7. So we'd need to change that minimum value to be able to see this verify interruption, and we can show you that next. All right, so we'll go back to our unit admin page, go to interruption, and here we'd change this minimum value of 1 to 4. So now when it starts to interrupt, it'll see it drop below 4 and then come back above it, and then it should show verification. All right, satellite. Satellite works differently than the cell unit. The cell unit has got signal pretty much all the time, but our satellite unit has to wait for a satellite to come over the top of the unit and have a strong enough signal for it to receive a packet or send one out. So you may be waiting a little longer than 8 minutes for a verification when the satellite's not overhead. If the satellite's overhead, it can work just as quick as the cell unit. But sometimes you may have to wait 8 minutes, unfortunately, sometimes as long as 20, depending on where the satellites are. And I've got one more before we go to the next screen, is why do the people in Greece hate to wake up at dawn? Well, it's obvious. Dawn is tough on Greece. And moving on. All right, there is something else that's different about the satellite that you do not see on the cell unit at this time. Under the unit detail page, under commands, there is this interruption verification for satellite units only. We're going to, in a later release, put this for cell as well. So if for some reason the unit on cell doesn't report back, you can always send an interruption verification to it as long as the interruption verification is turned on. That is as something that if it is disabled and you send this interruption verification, it's not going to be able to verify it because it needs to be on, or enabled for it to verify. And the same thing for satellite. And the reason for this is the cell network, we can send a lot of data back and forth and not have to increase a data budget for our customer. And this, with satellite, we're limited to how much data we can send back and forth without having to increase fees. And we don't want to do that. So we try to do anything we can to limit amount of data without hampering the customer's end goal here. And if you're wanting it to verify, just after you've sent the command, you can, after you've sent the settings to the unit, you can come up and hit commands and interruption verification, and then it'll come back and verify for you. All right. And this is something that I wanted to show you as well. When your interruption cycles are set to on off, you'll see a reading that looks like an on at the top and an off at the bottom. And that bottom one may be down to 0 as well. But if you're doing off on, then your off reading will be at the top and your on reading will be at the bottom. So that just something to keep in mind. It's another way of being able to tell how the unit is set up without having to go into the settings, just by looking at the readings for your verification.
And Mike, we had another comment on the chat from Deborah. She said, within those 8 minutes, either the dome, satellite, or self-service, can the unit show the interruption be verified that they are interrupting cohesively between units to start the survey?
If you've got it set up for interruption verification, it's not going to send in a packet until it's verified. So you'll need to wait that 8 minutes there. And that's one other reason why some customers don't want the verification turned on, because the unit will respond back right away saying that it started the interruption. And in most cases, the unit has. All right. What if you should see interruption verification where you get 2 on readings? That's usually an indication that your unit has not started interruption. We have sent the command to the unit to say, hey, I want you to start interrupting right now, but there could be a problem with the relay, the wiring of some setup that's keeping it from interrupting. So our verification comes back with 2 on readings rather than an on and off. All right. Do we have any questions? While we're waiting for that, I just want to tell you about the other day when I went into a tuxedo shop. I was walking around and the owner kept coming up and asking if he could help me and hovering over me the whole time. And I finally had to tell him to leave me alone. And he said, fine, suit yourself. All right. Any questions? All right. I'll hand it back over to y'all. See, and just let us know at any time if a question comes up later on. Feel free to get hold of me and I'll be glad to help you out.
Very much appreciate everyone joining us today. Hope you have a great week. Please reach out if you have any questions. We've dropped links to our support site that has all the instructions on interruption, and then we'll also put all the links to our technical support ticketing service. So any questions, anything we can do to help you out in the field, please let us know, and hope you have a great week. And we look forward to seeing you guys at the next Virtual Brew.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you at the next one.